what she had been quietly plotting for years, the slow, insidious pull of her powers on the gravitational field of modern fiction. An outsider artist of graveled gifts, savage talents, and obsessional interests, Patricia Highsmith understood early on that she would never see the world as others do. "I am married to my mother," she wrote at 19. "I will never wed another." At 21, her attentions were focused. "Obsessions are the only things that matter. Perversion interests me most and is my guiding darkness." In the acid bath of her detail-saturated prose, she developed her own image of an alternate Earth, Highsmith country, a territory so psychologically threatening that even her most faithful readers hoped never to meet themselves in its pages. In Highsmith country, good intentions corrupt naturally and automatically. Guilt often afflicts the innocent and not the culpable. Hunter and prey reverse roles at a moment's notice, and life is a suffocating trap from which even her most accomplished escape artists cannot find a graceful exit. Highsmith furnished her houses of fiction with the large and small irritants of her daily life. If she had carpenter ants in her attic and tax bills on her back, then her iconic hero-criminal Tom Ripley had them too. And the deep psychological divisions her protagonists suffer as they slip into crime and finally graduated degrees of madness came from a relentless examination of her own wayward tastes. I can't think of anything more apt to set the imagination stirring, drifting, creating than the idea, the fact, that anyone you walk past on the pavement anywhere may be a sadist, a compulsive thief, or even a murderer. Moving from country to country, drink to drink, and woman to woman in Europe, the worse her relationships went, the better she wrote was the general rule. She aged and iced inside her cone of watchful darkness, became a literary bestseller on the continent, and continued to curate her private museum of American maladies. It proved to be a rich resource for the bleakly original novels and crankishly perceptive short stories that poured out of her long, strange self-exile. She kept her passionate quarrel with America hot and bright, and learned the expatriate's bitter lesson: you can take the girl out of Texas, but you can't take Texas or Greenwich Village out of the girl, the hard way. The hard way was how Pat Highsmith learned everything. The atmospheres and geographies that found their way into her work are legion. The state of Texas, the Alabama Confederacy, Astoria, Queens, the crooked streets of Greenwich Village, so appropriate for criminal activity, she thought, and tended to murder her fictional characters at village addresses where she'd made love in life. An early passion for Dostoevsky, Proust, Gide, Wilde, woodworking, and anything abnormal. Her secret career as a scriptwriter of superhero comic books in 1940s Manhattan. The landscape of Mexico. Half a lifetime of self-exile in Western Europe. The love of dozens of interesting women and a few good men. An achingly resentful bond with her flamboyant artist mother, the original of all the noir bitches in her work. The divorce of her birth parents 9 days before she was born. The broken marital contract allowed Pat to say, with relish, that she was an out-of-wedlock child but still legitimate. It was the first of the many contradictions that ruled her deeply destructive, intensely creative life. Her slow literary crawl over the surface of things produced hundreds of raspingly acute portraits of quietly transgressive acts, and 6 or 7 of the most unsettling novels of the last half of the 20th century. Strangers on a Train, 1950. The Price of Salt, 1952. The Blunderer, 1954. The Talented Mr. Ripley, 1955. Deep Water, 1957, This Sweet Sickness, 1960, and The Cry of the Owl, 1962, are my own favorites. Highsmith herself would have added